Welcome to the Dole Institute of Politics.
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 Thank you all for coming tonight here at the Dole Institute of Politics.
There are a lot of people out there. They may be rich, they may be poor, they may be black, they may be brown or white or young or old, with real problems. And I think, unless you've really experienced one yourself, sometimes you're a little slow in recognizing the problems other people have.
And this is Main Street, Russell, Kansas, a town that throughout the rest of his life has always meant a great deal to him.
Did before, if I've done anything, it's because of people I've known up and down Main Street, and I can recall the time when I needed help, the people of Russell helped. And I think
Bob Dole and I flubbed up on 60 Minutes because we wouldn't be mean enough to each other. That's the truth. They wanted us to say things we didn't believe. They wanted us to call each other names. They wanted us to check our brains at the TV studio and spurt out these 10 or 15 second sound bites that make good television and make sparks fly, and nobody who watched us would have learned a thing. They would have no idea where we disagreed, no idea where we agreed, and no idea what our reasons were. And maybe it's just intrinsically unsuited what we believe to the modern television age, but that's the truth.
Let's start today. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in reporting, and take a little time to describe your craft, how you get inside access to so many remarkable sources.
In a sense, reporting started when I was the janitor in my father's law firm in Illinois in a place called Wheaton, and I would go clean up, and then there'd be these interesting papers on the desk, and the people who think the janitor can't read are naive. And then I would say, gee, that's an interesting case, let's pursue it further and find things in the files, and then go to the attic and check the disposed files, which were happily in alphabetical order, and I would take classmates and their last name and see if there was a file on a case. And to summarize, everyone has a secret.
I read that you supported, during the election, Hillary Clinton.
Oh, my Lord.
Oh, yeah. And President Obama, and some people criticized you for doing that, because how could you go against another black person that was running for office? What would you say about that?
If I'm driving in a two-seater down the street with a white friend of mine whom I've known for years and years, and I see a black man hitchhiking, and I say to my friend whom I've known for 25 years, who's white, hey, I'm sorry, you gotta get out. There's a brother over here. Now it's true, I don't know him, but he's my brother, so you get out. For me to go to Senator Clinton, whom I've known for years, and said, and I'm sorry, I can't support you. Well, why? Well, the guy's running over here. Well, do you know him? Well, no, but he's black. That's silly. And I would like to believe I'm a better person than that.
Well, you identified yourself as an activist. And so I would say to you that it's important to have the passion and educate your friends, but I think it's got to go beyond that. Activists try to change. We may not all be Bob Doles who try to change the world, but we can change our families, our neighborhoods, our cities, our states, and if we don't, who will?
Service is noble. Service is, and participating in the political process is good. You don't always have to be out there shouting or trying to get your name in the papers, but participating in the process, get involved, be in somebody's campaign, run for office yourself, help somebody else. But then you get the feeling of it, and I think the rest is history. You stay involved. The process works, and I think President-elect Obama, when he started off against Hillary Clinton, nobody gave him a snowball's chance. But he stayed with it, put together a great coalition of supporters, and set a huge example by the majesty of his win. So it can happen. What supported him were a lot of young people on the internet, a lot of young people in the campaign itself. There's a good example. And McCain had the same support from people. So I just say, don't despair. The guy that sits around, I can't do anything, my voice doesn't make a difference. It sure doesn't if you sit around whining about it all the time. Get in the game, do something.
It's kind of funny to watch the dynamic when you win the Pulitzer because, first of all, being in Cleveland, being a kid of the working class, I come from the working class and everyone knew that because I've written a lot about it. I immediately had 45,000 relatives in the city of Cleveland. And it was great. They were just so proud. But the message that most resonated for me that I've never been able to forget, I had about 4,500 emails in the first 24 hours. And my voicemail holds 80, and it just kept filling and filling. And I kept trying to listen so the secretaries wouldn't have to take them. But I got a message from a father who starts by saying, I'm a factory worker, and I have 3 daughters. And then his voice broke, and he hung up. And about 30, 40 messages later, he comes back on. He says, well, I'm a factory worker. I'm the one who called. I'm sorry, I kind of lost on you there. He said, I just want to tell you this. I'm a factory worker like your daddy. And he said, and I have 3 daughters, and I make them read you all the time because I tell them, see, her daddy was a factory worker, and look how she turned out. And that kind of message, as I'm sure you can understand, both broke my heart and lifted me sky high because what he's saying is, see, girls, I'm just a factory worker, but so was her daddy. And so that's why the Pulitzer has meant so much to me because no matter where I go, I have people come up and tell me that they work for the railroad, or they work for their daddy worked for the utility company, or their mother worked for hospice like my mother did, and how proud they are of me all over the country. And so it has legs, as we say. And it's really mattered a great deal to me because I want it mostly for the work I did on fighting for people who don't get to fight for themselves.
Governor, I wanted to ask you this. You have a lot of KU students here tonight, a lot of young people. What would you say to them, whether they're Republicans or Democrats or independents, about the importance of taking a role in this and future elections and also public service?
Well, 2 things. One is we need you. If you're a young person in this room tonight, we need your talent, your energy, your creativity, your passion and vision for the future, your collaborative nature with us, intergenerationally. And regardless of your political background, our country, and I know everybody in this room cares about our country, a democracy depends on an informed and engaged citizenry. And I would just say, as you hear the call to service, different people can serve in different ways. So not everybody needs to or should run for office. In fact, many people shouldn't run for office. But for those who have the skill set and the interest, it's a great thing. But there's lots of other ways to serve. And I love the notion that we are put on this earth to serve causes and purposes bigger than just ourselves. When I was governor, I had a chance, sadly, to go to many funerals, mostly for fallen soldiers, but also some police and firefighters. And so over the course of my years as governor, I probably went to as many as 100 or more funerals. And I listened very carefully to the messages about the measure of the people and the reflections of the people whose lives we were remembering and celebrating. And nobody ever stood up at that pulpit or by the gravesite and said, I really like John. He had a great BMW. Man, wasn't that 5 Series BMW just awesome? That's not what they say. They say, this person was a great family person, a great person of faith. He served or she served in church or community or charity or philanthropy, was a good friend, was a good relative, was a good parent, was a loving person in some measure. So we all can serve in some way. It's different for different people, but for those who are called to public service, it's a meaningful and important exercise. It's a tremendous contribution to community and state. We need good people in public service.
The storm came out. The wind started blowing, the thunder started rolling, the lightning started flashing, and the rain started beating on the roof of this old shotgun house. It was a tin roof. And she started crying. She was terrified. She thought the whole house was going to blow away. So she got all us little children together and told us to hold hands. And the wind continued to blow, the thunder continued to roll, the lightning continued to flash, and the rain continued to beat on the tin roof of this old shotgun house. And we cried and we cried. And when one corner of this old house appeared to be lifted from its foundation, Mom had us to walk to that corner to try to hold the house down with our little bodies. When the other corner appeared to be lifted, she had us to walk to that side.
And this worked.
And well, I thought it worked then. Okay. And the house didn't blow up. It didn't blow away. And so we were walking with the wind, and we were trying to hold this house down. And that's what the American Civil Rights Movement was all about, trying to hold the American house together. It was saying, in effect, that we all live in the same house. It doesn't matter whether we're black or white or Hispanic or Asian American or Native American, that we're one people, we're one family, we're one house, the American house.
What I really enjoyed is when I presided over naturalization ceremonies. This is, as you know, citizenship. A group of people who'd gone through all of the required procedures came before me in a federal courtroom in Maine. And there, in the last act of citizenship, I administered to them the oath of allegiance to the United States. And by the power vested in me under our law and Constitution, I made them Americans. It was always a highly emotional ceremony for me because of my personal background. As I said, my mother was an immigrant, my father the orphan son of immigrants. After every one of these ceremonies, I made it a point to speak personally with every new citizen, individually or in family groups. I asked them to tell me their life story, where they came from, why they came, what their hopes and dreams were. They were fascinating, very different, come from all parts of the world, but there were some common themes, and they were best summarized by a young Asian man. When I asked him why he came, replied in very slow and broken English. He said, "I came here, Judge, because in America, everybody has a chance." Think about that. A man who had been an American for 10 minutes, who could barely speak English, was able to sum up the meaning of our country in a single sentence. Everybody has a chance.